Hello, this is Chapter 6, Strengthening a Company's Competitive Position. Our learning objectives are the following. Understand whether, how, and when to deploy offensive or defensive strategic moves. Identify when being a first mover, a fast follower, or a late mover can lead to competitive advantage. Explain the strategic benefits and risks of expanding a company's horizontal scope through mergers and acquisitions. Identify the advantages and disadvantages of extending the company's scope of operations via vertical integration. And recognize the conditions that favor farming out certain value chain activities to outside parties. And lastly, understand how to capture the benefits and minimize the drawbacks of strategic alliances and partnerships. Maximizing the power of strategy. By making choices that complement a competitive approach and maximizing the power of strategy, offensive and defensive competitive actions, competitive dynamics and the timing of strategic moves, and scope of operations along the industry's value chain. Consider strategy enhancing measures. Whether and when to go on the offensive strategically and to initiate strategic moves to improve the firm's market position. Whether and how and when to employ defensive strategies. Whether to undertake new strategic initiatives as a first mover, a fast follower, or a late mover. And whether to bolster the firm's market position by merging with or acquiring another firm in the same industry. Whether to integrate backward or forward into more stages of the industry value chain system, and which value chain activities, if any, should be outsourced, and whether to enter into strategic alliances or partnership arrangements with other enterprises. Launching strategic offensives to improve a company's market position. Strategic offensive principles include focusing relentlessly on building competitive advantage and then striving to convert it into sustainable advantage. Applying resources where rivals are least able to defend themselves. Employing the element of surprise as opposed to doing what rivals expect and are prepared for. And number 4, displaying a capacity for swift, decisive, and overwhelming actions to overpower rivals. Choosing the basis for competitive attack. Well, avoid directly challenging a targeted competitor where it is strongest. Use the firm's strongest strategic assets to attack a competitor's weaknesses, and recognize that an offensive may not yield immediate results if market rivals are strong competitors. And you must be prepared for the threatened competitor's counter-response because they're not going to take the attack sitting down, especially when there's a lot of money involved and they could possibly be losing customers or market share or reduce sales. Principle of offensive strategic options include offering an equally good or better product at a lower price, leapfrogging competitors by being first to market with next-generation products, pursuing continuous product innovation to draw sales and market share away from less innovative rivals, and pursuing disruptive product innovations to create new markets, adopting and improving on the good ideas of other companies, rivals or otherwise, using hit-and-run or guerrilla marketing tactics to grab market share from complacent or distracted rivals, and launching a preemptive strike to secure an industry's limited resources or capture a rare opportunity. Choosing which rivals to attack, because you probably have quite a few to choose from. The best targets for offensive attacks are those companies that are market leaders that are in vulnerable competitive positions. This could be a company that just had a recall on their products, or they recorded a very bad quarter where they didn't make any money and they lost money. They're more vulnerable when that happens. Runner-up firms with weaknesses in areas where the challenge is stronger, and struggling enterprises on the verge of going under, and small local and regional firms with limited capabilities. Those are the best targets for offensive attacks. A blue ocean strategy is a special kind of strategy. And in the business universe, it's divided into an existing market with boundaries and rules in which rival firms compete for advantage, Or it could be a blue ocean market space where the industry has not yet taken shape with no rivals and wide open long-term growth and profit potential for a firm that can create demand for new types of products. Illustration capsule 6.1 is Etsy's blue ocean strategy in online retailing of handmade crafts. Given the rapidity with which most first mover advantages based on internet technologies can be overcome by competitors, what must Etsy do to retain its current competitive advantage? Is Etsy's unique, focused differentiation entry into online artisanal retailing likely to result in long-term sustainable competitive advantage for Etsy? Why or why not? My question for Etsy also, is this business scalable? In any case, these are some questions that you should think about and also bring to class for those students who are in class. We can discuss that during our discussions. Defensive strategies, protecting market position and competitive advantage. The purpose of defensive strategies, it lowers the firm's risk of being attacked, and it weakens the impact of an attack that does not occur. It also influences challenges to aim their efforts at other rivals, because they'll be in for a fight and they may not win it. Forms of defensive strategy. Defensive strategies can take either of two forms. Number one, actions to block challengers, and two, actions to signal the likelihood of strong retaliation. A good offense is a good defense. Blocking the avenues open to challengers. You can do this by introducing new features and models to broaden product lines, to close off gaps and vacant niches. Maintain economy pricing to thwart lower price attacks. Discourage buyers from trying competitors' brands. Making early announcements about new products or price changes to induce buyers to postpone switching. Offer support and special inducements to current customers to reduce the attractiveness of switching. And challenge quality or safety of rivals' products. Grant discounts or better terms to intermediaries who handle the firm's product line exclusively. Signaling challenges that retaliation is likely. Signaling is an effective defensive strategy when the firm follows through by publicly announcing its commitment to maintaining the firm's present market share, publicly committing to a policy of matching competitors' terms or prices, maintaining a war chest of cash and marketable securities so they're able to finance any kind of challenge or retaliation that will come forth, making a strong counter response to the moves of weaker rivals to enhance its tough defender image. The timing of a company's strategic moves is also very important. Knowing when to make a strategic move is as crucial as knowing what move to make. Moving first is no guarantee of success or competitive advantage, and the risk of moving first to stake out a monopoly position versus being a fast follower or even a late mover must be carefully weighed. Conditions that lead to first mover advantages. When pioneering helps build a firm's reputation and creates strong brand loyalty. When a first mover's customers will therefore face significant switching costs. When property rights protections thwart rapid imitation of the initial move. When an early lead enables scale economies and swift movement down the learning curve ahead of rivals. When a first mover can set enduring technical standards for the industry. When strong network effects compel increasingly more consumers to choose the first mover's product or service. Illustration, capsule 6.2, Tinder swipes right for first mover success. Which first mover advantages contributed to Tinder's gaining over 1 million monthly active users in less than a year? How long can Tinder protect its first move advantages? And how has Tinder monetized its success while its rivals are having to play catch up? Potential advantages for late mover advantages or first mover disadvantages. When pioneering is more costly than imitating and offers negligible experience or learning curve benefits. When an innovator's products are somewhat primitive and do not live up to buyers' expectations. When rapid market evolution allows fast followers to leapfrog a first mover's products with more attractive next version products. when market uncertainties make it difficult to ascertain what products will eventually succeed. When customer loyalty is low and a first mover's skills, know-how, and actions are easily copied or surpassed. And when the first mover must make a risky investment in complementary assets or infrastructure, and these are available to followers at lower cost or lower risk. To be a first mover or not, does market takeoff depend on complementary products and services that are not yet available? Is new infrastructure required before buyer demand can surge? Must buyers learn new skills or adopt new behaviors? And will buyers encounter high switching costs in moving to the newly introduced product or service? Are there influential competitors in a position to delay or derail the efforts of a first mover? These are some of the questions that need to be considered before you're a first mover or not. Strengthening a company's market position via its scope of operations. Defining the horizontal and vertical scope of a firm's operations. What are its range of activities performed internally? Breadth of its product and service offerings. Extent of its geographical market presence and its mix of business. What about the size of its competitive footprint on its market or industry? Again, some thoughts. Horizontal merger and acquisition strategies. Merger is the combining of two or more firms into a single corporate entity that often takes on a new name. Acquisition is a combination in which one firm, the acquirer, purchases and absorbs the operations of another firm, the acquired. Strategic objectives for horizontal mergers and acquisitions. Number one, creating a more cost-effective operation out of the combined firms. 2, expanding the firm's geographical coverage. 3, extending the firm's business into new product categories. 4, gaining quick access to new technologies or other resources and capabilities that the original firm didn't have. Number 5, leading the convergence of industries whose boundaries are being blurred by changing technologies and new market opportunities. In illustration capsule 6.3, Walmart's expansion into e-commerce via horizontal acquisition. Which strategic transformation outcomes did Walmart expect to gain through its acquisition strategy? Why did Walmart choose to pursue an acquisition strategy that was ahead of its brick-and-mortar competitors? And how will increasing the horizontal scope of Walmart through acquisitions strengthen its competitive position and profitability? Why mergers and acquisitions sometimes fail to produce anticipated results? You've got strategic issues. The cost savings that may have been anticipated may prove smaller than expected. Gains in competitive capabilities take longer to realize or never materialize at all. Then there's organizational issues, which is probably more prevalent. Cultures, operating systems, and management styles fail to mesh due to resistance to change from organization members. Usually that happens when you are not including all of your key players in the acquisition process, but sometimes you can't do that because of proprietary information or the privacy of this information before any deals can be announced. Key employees at the acquired firm are lost. I ain't working for anybody else. I'm out of here. And maybe they're disgruntled, but that could negatively impact the merger and the acquisition. Managers overseeing integration make mistakes in melding the acquired firm into their own. Vertical integration strategies. A vertically integrated firm is one that participates in multiple segments or stages of an industry's overall value chain. The vertical integration strategy can expand the firm's range of activities backward into its sources of supply or forward towards end users and its products. Types of vertical integration strategies include a full integration. A firm participates in all stages of the vertical activity chain. Partial integration. A firm builds positions only in selected stages of the vertical chain. A tapered integration, where a firm uses a mix of in-house and outsourced activity in any stage of the vertical chain. The advantages of a vertical integration strategy include potential benefits, add material to a firm's technical capabilities, strengthen the firm's competitive position, and boosts the firm's profitability. Integrated backward to achieve greater competitiveness by achieving same scale economies as outside suppliers' low cost based competitive advantage, matching or beating suppliers' production efficiency with no drop off in quality, differentiation based competitive advantage. And reasons for integrating backwards include reduction of supplier power, reduction in costs of major inputs, assurance of the supply and flow of critical inputs, and protection of proprietary know-how. Integrating forward to enhance competitiveness includes lower overall cost by increasing channel activity efficiencies related to competitors, increase bargaining power through control of channel activities, gain better access to end users, strengthen and reinforce brand awareness, and increase product differentiation. What are some of the disadvantages of vertical integration strategy? This includes increased business risk due to large capital investment, slow acceptance of technological advances or more efficient production methods, less flexibility in accommodating shifting buyer premises that require non-internally produced parts. Internal production levels may not reach volumes that create economies of scale. Efficient production of internally produced components and parts is hampered by capacity matching problems and new or different resources and capability requirements. These are all disadvantages. So when you weigh the pros and cons of vertical integration, will vertical integration enhance the performance of strategy critical activities in ways that lower cost, build expertise, protect proprietary know-how, or increase differentiation? What impact will vertical integration have on investment costs, flexibility, and response times? And what administrative costs are incurred by coordinating operations across more vertical chain activities? How difficult will it be for the firm to acquire the set of skills and capabilities needed to operate another stage of the vertical chain? Illustration Capsule 6.4, Tesla's vertical integration strategy. What are the most important strategic benefits that Tesla derives from its vertical integration strategy? Over the long term, how could the vertical scope of Tesla's operations threaten its competitive position and profitability? And why is a vertical integration strategy more appropriate in some industries than in others? Outsourcing strategies narrowing the scope of operations. You should outsource an activity if it can be performed better or more cheaply by outside specialists. It is not crucial to achieving sustainable competitive advantage. It improves organizational flexibility and speed time to market. Reduce risk exposure due to new technology or buyer preferences, and allows concentration on core businesses leveraging key resources and is more successful outsourced. The company can focus on the things that it does best. The risk of outsourcing value chain activities. Hollowing out resources and capabilities that a firm needs to be a master of its own destiny. Loss of direct control when monitoring, controlling, and coordinating activities of outside parties by means of contracts and arm's length transactions. Lack of incentives for outside parties to make investments specific to the needs of the outsourcing firm's value chain. Strategic alliances and partnerships. A strategic alliance is a formal agreement between two or more separate firms in which they agree to work cooperatively towards some common objective. A joint venture is a partnership involving the establishment of an independent corporate entity that the partners own and control jointly, sharing in its revenue and expenses. What are factors that make an alliance strategic? Number one, a strategic alliance facilitates achievement of important business objectives. It helps build, sustain, and enhance a core competence or competitive advantage. Helps remedy an important resource deficiency or competitive weakness. Helps defend against a competitive threat or mitigates a significant risk to a firm's business. Also increases the bargaining power over suppliers or buyers. And 6, helps create important new market opportunities. 7, speeds development of new technologies or product innovations. Benefits of strategic alliances and partnerships. Minimize the problems associated with vertical integration, outsourcing, and mergers and acquisitions. They're useful in extending the scope of operations via international expansion and diversification strategies. It also reduces the need to be independent and self-sufficient when strengthening the firm's competitive position. It offers great flexibility should a firm's resources requirements or goals change over time, and are useful when industries are experiencing high velocity technological advantages simultaneously. Why and how strategic alliances are advantageous. The strategic alliances expedite development of promising new technologies or products, help overcome deficits in technical and manufacturing expertise, bring together the personnel and expertise needed to create new skill sets and capabilities, improve supply chain efficiency, help partners allocate venture risk sharing, and allow firms to gain economies of scale, and finally provide new market access for partners. Capturing the benefits of strategic alliances. Successful strategic alliance factors include picking a good partner, being sensitive to cultural differences, recognizing that the alliance must benefit both sides, ensuring that both sides keep their commitments, structure the decision-making process for swift action, and adjust the agreement over time to fit new circumstances. Achieving long-lasting strategic alliance relationships, factors influencing longevity, collaborating with partners that do not compete directly, establishing a permanent, trusting relationship, and continuing to collaborate is in the parties' mutual interest. There are some drawbacks. Culture clash and integration problems due to different management styles and business practices. Anticipated gains not materializing due to an overly optimistic view of the potential for synergies or the unforeseen poor fit of partners' resources and capabilities. The risk of becoming dependent on partner firms for essential expertise and capabilities. Protection of proprietary technologies, knowledge bases, or trade secrets from partners who are rivals. Principal advantage of strategic alliances over vertical integration or horizontal merger or acquisitions. They lower investment costs and risks for each partner by facilitating resource pooling and risk sharing. They are more flexible organizational forms and allow for a more adaptive response to changing conditions. And they are more rapidly deployed, a critical factor when speed is of the essence. How do you make a strategic alliance work? Well, you create a system for managing the alliance, build trusting relationships with partners, set up safeguards to protect from the threat of opportunism by partners, make commitments to partners and see that the partners do the same, make shared learning a routine part of the management process. And I thank you for listening.